There we go. All right. Well, I'm really excited to have Darnyelle Jervey of, are you in Delaware or New Jersey? Remind me where
I'm in Delaware. Delaware. First state. Me and the vice president.
And we're going to stop Sherry for a second. And we're so excited to have you. I know it's always fun for me to find another woman entrepreneur, young woman entrepreneur who has her MBA and is going places and really building a successful business. And Incredible One Enterprises has just been taking off. Tell me a little bit about your background, your story. How did you start your company? And I know that you've been seen in all kinds of media. I'm going to pull up your website so people can find you there. But yeah, tell me a little bit about your story and background.
Okay, so that's always such a loaded question. So like many of the people who will come and join us now or who will listen back to this, my career started in corporate America, right after graduating from college. I worked for a Fortune 500 financial services company for 12 years. I left there as a vice president in business development. I then went on to do Mary Kay Cosmetics and won a couple of pink Cadillacs, which was kind of awesome. From my corporate background, that's really where I learned. I sat at the feet at some of the most amazing business minds ever and really learned business and learned the importance of tracking and KPIs and measurement and strategy. And then I spent some time in Mary Kay Cosmetics where I really learned sales, frontwards and backwards in every possible way. I happened to be #1 in the state of Delaware 2 years in a row. I earned my first pink Cadillac in 5 months, had a great time. And then from there, I ran a women's business center here in the state of Delaware for 2 years. And so that was really awesome because that was my first time creating curriculum specifically around marketing for aspiring and micro businesses, which was awesome. We grew that program by over 68%. And then I started Incredible One 8 years ago today. Or not today, but 8 years ago. And today we are a business growth strategy firm, and we focus in around what I call the 5 pillars of business optimization: your brand message, your marketing, your sales, your overall operations, and your talent. And so we come in and look at an organization across those 5 areas and plug the holes that are existing in their strategy to help them to grow faster, and more succinctly and more profitably. And so our clients, I'm really proud to say, and this is from solopreneur up to some of the larger companies that we work with, they experience growth between 50 to 600% in a year by this process.
Amazing.
That we utilize. Yeah, it's pretty powerful. It's awesome. I mean, I just really recently finished working with an IT firm that was about a $6 million company that is now an $8.5 million company after working with me and my team for about 9 months. So it's a really, really powerful process. We've had solopreneurs that have gone from 50,000 to 350,000 in a year. So it's really powerful what we see happen.
Absolutely. I love it. And I think one of the things that I love about you is that you're a woman of faith, and that comes through in your marketing, and that you really view sales as love and service, which is absolutely where my heart is. And I believe that that's how we serve the world, is through selling well and really allowing ourselves to receive and share value with others. And that's kind of why I wanted to invite you onto today's call. I know that you have your upcoming event where it's all about selling. So Sell the Incredible, tighten your sales game. And so I wanted to really talk through, what do you feel are kind of the key sales principles and stuff that we can share with our viewership, and they can increase their sales game?
Absolutely. So I would say, the very first thing is it's not even about sales. It's about the message that you're sharing in the marketplace. There's so much noise out there. How are you creating a message that is almost like that dog whistle effect for the clients that you serve? I'm not trying to suggest that your clients are dogs unless you're a vet, but I want you to get that effect. I want you to put your marketing, your message out there and have people gravitate towards it, have them self-select so that you're not working hard. In my opinion, you need to get found by your clients, not go find your clients. So positioning yourself with the message. So the biggest challenge that I see here is that people don't take enough time to drill down on the message and how succinct the message needs to be. So I created an acronym, which I call SPICE. We all need to try to solve a SPICE problem. And a SPICE problem is specific and substantive. So you're very clear what you're talking about and you're going deep. You are not on the surface. It is persistent and pervasive. So that means that it's like a rash. It's going to linger until you show up with the ointment. It's immediate and insurmountable. Until you solve the problem, it's going to keep, piling up for them, and they need to solve the problem yesterday. They are clear and conscious that they have this problem. That's how you avoid the chasing clients. If they know that they have the problem and they see you as a solution to that problem, they will gravitate towards you. And then the E stands for expensive and expansive. So it costs more and it gets bigger the longer it goes without you solving the problem. So as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, we have to drill our message down to that level of specificity. So that's the first step. Once your message is tight, then you need to get the right marketing strategies in place to reach those that you want to serve. So should you be on social media? Maybe, if your clients are gravitating there on a regular enough basis to find you above all the noise that exists. But you might want to use more offline marketing strategies than online marketing strategies. I teach my clients that you need an 80-20. So 80% offline, 20% online. And that's because online strategies are only going to yield you a 1 to 3% conversion. Social media is a 0.71% conversion. But offline strategies are 20 to 30% conversion. So you can do the math there and see why you need to do that. So that's the second phase. You have the right marketing arsenal in place. The third phase is, have you mastered the sales conversation? And we talked about this a little bit before, Caitlin. The conversation is different depending upon who you're talking to and where you're talking to them. If you are a speaker and you're selling from the stage, the way you're going to show up in that sales conversation is going to be entirely different if you're talking one-on-one with a person about helping them in whatever it is that you do. It's also going to be different if you're talking to corporations and decision makers in corporations. If you happen to be having a meeting with an activator, that means that they cannot make the buying decision. The conversation is going to be entirely different than if you are talking to the decision maker. If you're talking to a college or university, a governmental entity, a nonprofit, the conversation is going to be different in every stretch of the imagination. There are some phases of the conversation that happen no matter what. Like, you need to spend time clarifying the problem, so getting really, really clear about what they're currently experiencing and how spicy is it. So applying that SPICE acronym to their problem and making sure they're crystal clear about it. And then this is where people, I think, often miss the mark, is they don't discover the cost of the problem. So it's one thing to have a problem, but how much is that problem costing them? And you have to be able to drill that problem down to something that is tangible. And what's tangible? Time or money. So you have to be able to say time or money, or have them share with you in time or money how bad the problem really is. If you can't hit them where it hurts, they will not give you money. They will not invest in themselves and see you as the person who can solve the problem. So I tend to spend a lot of time with my clients and students at events, really massaging the cost of the problem, because it's the most important part of the conversation. The third phase of the conversation is making the transition. So now that you've gotten them all emotional about the problem and you told them how much it costs, you've got to shift them to start thinking about what's possible if they get a solution. So you've got to paint an amazing picture. And this is where you really get an opportunity to serve them, to have them really step out of their fear space, which is where they are when they're talking about the cost of the problem, and to step into their faith space. What is it going to look like if you help them? What is possible for them? And this is also extremely important, because if they're not emotionally connected to you in the conversation, they are not putting a dime on it. It's just not going to happen. And then the fourth phase, and again, there are nuances to that based on who you're speaking with. And then the fourth phase of it is asking them, do they want your help? You wouldn't be surprised because you do this all day, but I'm surprised by the number of business owners I have conversations with. And I said, well, did you ask them if they wanted you to work with them? And they're like, oh no, I didn't even think of that. You have to ask them, right? Because we have not because we ask not, as the Bible says. So those are the specifics of that particular portion of it, the sales conversation. So once you have the right message, once you have the right marketing strategies and you're getting found by your most ideal clients and you've mastered the sales conversation, then it's about systemization and automation. So how can you create your follow-up to be designed automatically so that leads and prospects don't fall through the cracks, right? So the statistics say that the average business owner makes 2 calls and then they stop calling, but the average 80% of sales are made after you've made 5 to 12 calls. And so people don't make the calls, not because they don't want to make the calls, but guess what? They forget. We have short attention spans. I called them twice. I don't have a system in place to keep me on track. So I just move on to the next thing instead of continuing to work that lead. I mean, I literally just this past week closed a 6-figure deal for someone that I had followed up with 14 times. If I stopped calling after that second attempt, I would have left $180,000 on the table. So it's very important that they do that. So the event itself is really about first understanding the mindset that you need to have. And the mindset shift, most importantly, you kind of talked about it earlier, was shifting from sales to servant and really positioning yourself as a servant to solve them. I mean, I've been to many a restaurant where I have been served well, and there's never been an instance where they did not give me a check when I was done. Right?
Exactly.
So being a servant does not mean that you have to give your services away for free, but heart-centered, mission-driven entrepreneurs, they tend to disconnect there. So we're going to really delve into the mindset that you need to have to be effective in sales. We're going to master the sales conversation, and then we're going to set up the automated sequencing that you need to have in place to be able to master the entire process until they close. So reminding you when to follow up so things do not fall through the cracks. And I really designed this event, Caitlin, because I'm kind of tired of, I'm so tired of watching amazing, gifted, talented people who struggle in their business because they don't know what they don't know. And more importantly, they don't know how to do it. And so, you know, I wanted to create an environment to teach a small group of people how to really master this process and tighten their sales game so that this transferable skill serves them for the rest of their life, whether they're working in their own business or they decide to go back to work one day. Knowing how to sell and manage a sales process is a skill that makes you extremely marketable, and you can make a lot more money working for somebody else if you have that skill.
Right. Yeah, and I agree with that 100%. If any of our listeners are making less than 6 figures, there really should only be one focus for you, and that's mastering your sales conversation and getting your conversion rates up. Because once you get your conversion rates up, then you can increase your prices, and it's this escalation process. But and then after 100,000, then we can talk about building systems in your team and all those things that you cover in your strategies. But you have to know how to sell. And the thing that I love, and the thing that I'm passionate about, is I feel like sales and leadership really are just flip sides of the same coin. And so if you want to be an influencer, if you want to transform the world powerfully, you have to know how to sell. You have to sell yourself. You have to sell your vision. You have to get people to buy in to where you're headed. And I think knowing sales just puts a quantifier on how successful you're being and how much influence you're exerting. Because if you can't close the deal, you didn't exert enough influence. And so I absolutely believe that this is the most important part for an entrepreneur who's getting started. I wanted to go back really quickly, back to the clarifying your problem and your pain. Do you have any way, so this is the part that my clients have the hardest time with, because they're heart-centered and they love their people and they are healers and they're amazing. They don't want to get into the pain. So do you have any tricks to help your mindset in recognizing that the pain needs to be gotten to and be more effective that way?
Yeah, so 2 things I want to say before I talk about strategy. And the first is this. People in pain are actively seeking a painkiller. So if you're not focused on the pain, you're going to miss the people who need you the most. I get that you want to be warm and fuzzy and peaches and cream. I entirely get it. But I've done a lot of testing around marketing and messaging, and Pleasure-based marketing just doesn't cut it as well as pain-based marketing. So you've got to find the problem that exists that is creating this for your client. So how do you do this? So if you're looking at the plus side, if you're looking at, and we'll talk about like if you are a life coach, right? So if you're looking at them getting clear on their goals and establishing an action plan and going for their dreams, that's the pleasure. That's what the end result is. That's what they want. You have to flip it. So if I were not going for my dreams, who would I be today? And then paint that picture. So what does it look like to be a person who's stuck and stagnant, who's frustrated, who's in a job they can't stand, and just, maybe even sick, because there's all of these things that happen when we're not flowing in our abundance. Think about the converse side of the picture. That's the easiest way to do it. So if this is the plus side, what is the negative side of that? What does that really look like? And make that picture as painful as possible. The second thing I would offer to you is ask your client. So now that you've gotten them to the other side, remind them or ask them to go back to who they used to be before they hired you and write that down. Because here's the thing, people that have hired you are just like people who will hire you. So use their words to get more people to hire you. So actually ask your clients. Again, do the reverse interview. Now that we've been working together and we're over here, talk to me about when you were over there and what made you choose me. Because I think that's going to be really effective. I think those are probably the quickest ways. I mean, we could go deep on it, but I know this is like a 20-minute conversation. So those are probably the quickest ways to do it, is to just flip it.
I love it. And I think that interview, who were you before we met, leads perfectly into a testimonial opportunity that you can put on your website. And you say, as you're sharing this for me, would it be okay if I wrote this up for you and sent it for your approval? And then can I get a headshot and promote your business for you and put it on your website and hit the ground running? And it's really powerful. I love it.
Yeah.
Surveying your clients or prospects is, I think, the fastest way to get to how do you craft a message that is compelling.
Absolutely.
So we're going to be talking about your message, getting clear on your marketing, getting clear on mastering your sales process, and then systematizing and mapping out the nurture and the follow-up and the sequences. And then if I understand this event correctly, basically you're going to be working one-on-one in it's a very intimate group, and you're going to be working with each one of them to actually develop real scripting. So tell me, if somebody is interested in working with you at the event and networking with other business owners, kind of what can they look forward to? What are they going to walk away with after they've worked with you at Sell the Incredible?
Yeah, so that's an awesome question. So 2 things that you're going to walk away with. First of all, you're going to walk away with a level of confidence about who you are, what you bring to the table, and how to share that in a way that's going to be compelling and magnetic for those you serve. That's priceless, because 9 out of 10 entrepreneurs that I meet, and this is regardless of where they are. I mean, I just did a VIP day last week with a business, $800,000 a year this business earns. Been in business for 18 years in St. Louis. We sit down, and as we're starting the day, and she said, I just really I want to work on my confidence and come up with a stronger message so that I know what to say when people say, why should we hire you? She's been in business 18 years. So it's priceless to have that level of confidence. Confidence is as good as currency. So that's the first thing that you're going to walk away with. And the second thing that you're going to walk away with is the actual sales management process flow plan. So it is going to be all charted out. Like, I'm bringing the 11 by 17 paper with all of the places for you to write in what you're going to do and what your sequence is going to look like. And you're going to literally leave with that. And all you'll need to do, if you have support team, whatever system you use, whether it is as intricate as an Infusionsoft, I mean, that's like probably the most ideal. It would be if you're using an Infusionsoft. But even if you're using a MailChimp, you're going to be able to plug in your autoresponder sequences and plug in the task notifications to yourself so that you know when you need to do a measure of follow-up, or you need to send an email or pick up the phone in order to be able to move that sequence along from the proposal being presented to actually welcoming your new client. The amount of time that can lapse between the proposal being presented and welcoming a new client It varies, and it's going to vary largely depending upon what you charge. If your rates are lower and I can make a decision and pull out my credit card, you'll get a yes faster than if I have to figure out how to make this investment work for me and what am I going to have to move around. I remember that, when you talked about how mastering the sales conversation, then you can raise your rates. I remember when I, raised my private consulting rates to a level where I stopped getting a yes in the first conversation. And I realized it was because of what it costs. Like, people need to go move some stuff around. They need to figure out how they're going to make this thing work. And you welcome that. You put your follow-up steps in place so that you stay top of mind and you stay with them while they're in the deciding process, so that you don't get lost in the shuffle. And they don't, and more importantly, so that they don't go looking for someone else, because people get what they pay for. So it's not always a good thing to get somebody who charges very little for the services that they say that they're going to render. So those are the two.
I firmly believe, increasing prices is an act of service, right? So I find that the clients that I charge the most for, they're number one, they're the easiest. I don't know why, but they recognize the value of what they just bought from me. They show up, they're eager, they take notes, they're engaged. And then they go and they execute. They execute like mad, right?
I know.
And then they have to I'm like, I'll give you a discount, or I'll do my low price program. Well, previously I don't anymore, but it was like pulling teeth. Like, they wanted email access, and they wanted this, and they wanted that, and then they were unhappy because they weren't getting immediate results. And I was just like, why? I'm spending this is not working. And then what I found is that then because I charged more, because they valued it more, because they were doing more actions, they were getting better results, which led to them giving me better testimonials, which allowed me then to increase my prices. So it's a kind of a virtuous circle that's going to increase your conversions and your pricing time and time again. So I have kind of this philosophy in my thing. I sell it 3 times and then I increase my rate. And then I sell it 3 times and I increase my rate.
I do the same exact thing.
And I find you can't hit a ceiling. It's just in terms of value, right? So when we started, VCS was doing commission-only sales. And now we're charging like $50,000 just flat, plus commission on top to do your sales, to do what we did for free, essentially, at the front end. And it's just because we've learned how to increase the felt value over time. And that's all that sales is. It's connecting that pain and that problem that you mentioned, helping them see that vision of what's possible, and saying, I'm going to get you there. I'm bridging that gap for you. And just simply walking them through and connecting the dots between what they said that they wanted and what you know that you can provide and guarantee.
Absolutely. And I think you make such an important point about the value. And, if I say one other thing to the people who will listen to this in the replay, don't think about the time that it takes you in this moment to serve them and solve the problem. Think about the lifetime value. So as an example, let's say you are a business coach. And let's say that you charge $500 for a 60-minute session with you. And let's say that after they have that 60-minute session with you, because you are amazing, they create a $1 million business plan in that 60-minute session for you. And they go on in the next 3.5 years to grow their business to $1 million. And all you have is that $500 that you charged them 3.5 years ago. And you're probably not even making 6 figures if all you charged was $500. And they are now $1 million business. So think about, one of the things I work with my clients and my students on is assessing the return on investment and pricing yourself based on the ROI. So and don't get me wrong, some people are going to hear your prices and say, oh, hell no, there's no way I can afford that. And they're not your clients. And other people are going to hear your prices and they're going to say, I need to figure this out because I need to work with you. And I even had a person say to me, I need to hire you just because of your rates. I need to hear what you're doing that I'm not doing because, like, she's an attorney. So she had all these advanced degrees and it's more than my MBA. And, for me to do a VIP day with her was $12,500. And she was like, I need to hire you just so I can see behind the veil of why you charge that much. And she did. She paid me in full. So, you know what I mean? But you have to think about the value of what it is that you bring to the table, and not just for that moment. And lifetime value, that example was a little unfair. So I'm not going to say lifetime value, but, you know, think about the value you represent in the next 3 to 5 years, depending upon who it is. If it's a corporation, look at the value you represent in the next year, right? Because a 3% lift for a corporation could be millions of dollars. It's a little bit different if you're talking to an individual entrepreneur. You might want to think 3 to 5 years, because if you know anything, if you are a business coach, hopefully you know this, marketing strategies, you need to give them time to work. So you need at least a 90-day to 6-month lead time on any strategy you implement to make sure it's actually working for you. So that's why you give them a little bit more time versus a corporation that can turn things around on a dime. So, there's a lot that goes into it. And Sell the Incredible, Tighten Your Sales Game is really about getting an understanding of every part of it. Because, I am very upset by the statistics. The clients that I work with day in and day out are 6-figure businesses. But I tend to do these types of events for those who aren't at 6 figures yet, because it's a more affordable way for them to invest in themselves through working with me to get access to what I'm teaching to my companies and clients that are growing $500,000 and $1 million businesses in a very short period of time.
Right. I love it. Well, thank you so much. Is there any last parting wisdom, any tips or tricks that we can walk away with and close the deal today, or something that'll help us tighten our sales game just as we leave today?
Yes, I would say the one thing that I would tell you to do, and make sure you do, I said it earlier, but I'm going to say it again. Just ask them, would they like your help? You don't even have to say, do you want to pay me this money, or do you want to hire me? Would you like my help? Simply integrate that into your sales conversation at every level. If a person is interfacing with you on social media and you're going back and forth, would you like my help? As soon as they say yes, take that conversation offline, get on the phone with them, and position yourself as the best and most obvious choice for them so that you can welcome a new client.
I love it. Thank you so much. Let me go ahead and just share my screen one more time. Her website is Incredible One. Let me make sure I'm getting this right. IncredibleOneEnterprises.com.
Right.
And she has a free CD that you can get, the 7 critical mistakes even smart entrepreneurs must avoid for clients, connection, and cash flow today. She also has some information about Selling the Incredible. It starts coming up in November, the 9th and 10th in Washington, D.C. I highly recommend that. And thank you so much, Darnyelle. I really appreciate you. And we'll talk soon.
Sounds good. Take care, guys.
Bye, guys. Bye.